Good day, Dr. Saliha Afridi, and thank you for being with me on this podcast, 30 Minutes with Zaina today.
It's my pleasure, Zaina. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Dr. Saliha, we are going to cover today a very interesting and trending topic, which is the word millennials and their psychology and how marketing technically is also playing a role in targeting the segment and also affecting them in a way or another. But before I get into the actual discussions on that topic, I would like to introduce you. Dr. Saliha Afridi, you are a clinical psychologist and the founder and managing director of the LightHouse Arabia, which is a community wellness center based in Dubai. And you moved to the UAE from the United States 11 years ago to actually create a positive impact for this region from mental health perspective. So Doctor, millennials today are referred to as Generation Y. And they are also considered demographics following Generation X and prior to Generation Z. Okay, if I said it right. So to define this category, give us an understanding of the terminology millennials and the term Gen Z and Gen Y.
Okay, so the generations are broken down into usually a 17-19 year gap. There's Gen X, which is the generation before the millennials. Millennials are Gen Y, and they are also called millennials, as well as the me generation.
Okay.
Millennials are anyone who is born between 1977 to 1996, and sometimes people say it's 1980 but just somewhere around that region, where 1977 to 1997.
Oh.
So it's like a 20 sort of window that we're looking at. Okay. The Gen Z comes in 1997 and goes on till 2015, and no one has figured out what they're going to call the generation that comes after that yet.
Why did I always feel that millennials are very like teenagers?
Yeah, because that's how usually people have described millennials, that, you know, that they're lazy, and then, you know, they're entitled, they don't work hard, they lack loyalty. So the way they've described millennials is usually, I think, the younger millennials, because if you think about 1997, that's like at the edge of the millennial range. So I think there is maybe two types of millennials.
Okay.
There's some people who really look a lot like Gen X, the generation before them. And then there's some people who look like Gen Y, or Gen Z. And so it could be that millennials are seen as like a bit adolescent,
okay,
or a bit entitled, and the way you describe different adolescents, I guess.
So basically, Generation Y, if I'm not mistaken, right, which is technically the millennials, are the ones that are from 1977 all the way down to 1997. And from what I understand, Generation X are the generation beforehand, and the Generation Z is post those people, post 1997. Yes. Okay. More than 90% of those millennials, if we're going to be talking about the 1977 category to 97, they use smartphones. And even the younger generation, which is Generation Z. And you know, smartphones can affect positively and negatively today. And be it a psychologist, I'm sure you see a lot of issues today with a lot of kids or even our generation, okay? How do you see smartphones changing mindsets and affecting it at the same time?
Oh, I mean, you only have 30 minutes, so I'm going to keep it.
No, I'm sure whoever's going to listen to this will have to revert back to you for any advice. I mean, at the end of the day,
I would be happy to. But there's so many things, Zaina, when we think about smartphones. We live in an era of distraction. We have, because of social media, there's a lot of narcissistic traits, which are very much about me. Look what I did today. Look what I wore today. Look what I saw today. Look what I ate today. That is a lot of this narcissistic traits. And then also this inflated sense of being that, look how important I am, when you really haven't done anything very significant with your life. And so you become an influencer and you become somewhat popular without having to really do any hard groundwork. You also have this expectation, thanks to technology, with you expect instant gratification. You know, when we were younger, we needed to wait to go to the library, or we needed to wait to go to the bookstore. Now, click a button, you get your download, and click a button. You don't have to go to the movie store. You have Netflix and it just goes without you even pressing a button. So this instant expectation of instant gratification. You also have a rise in mental health issues like depression and anxiety, because there's a lot of perfectionism that goes in. There's a lot of social comparison. There will always be people that have more than me. There will always be people that look better than me or are just more filtered than I am, or. And so you just feel really bad about yourself. You feel like you're not living the life that you want. People are traveling and eating and enjoying, and you feel like you're sitting at work when that's really not reality. So it's quite disconnected from reality. There's a lot of social comparison going on. But also there's just a very high expectation of what we should look like, what we should own, what we should have. And then obviously just the given normal things of you're just being so distracted, so full all the time, not having time to turn off, having poor sleep, having reduced physical activity. And you know, there is, just to rewind a little bit, there is the millennial, and then there's the Middle Eastern millennial. And the Middle Eastern millennial is on another level, okay? So we in the Middle East are very high consumers of social media. We in the Middle East, unlike other millennials worldwide, we spend twice as much.
Why do you think
as
that?
our before. So
because we have a closed culture, you think? This is why they utilize more a free way of, you know, portraying themselves, which is basically using the phone?
I think so. I think the weather, I think the fact that we have access to the world where we don't have access to the world necessarily in other ways, it does give us expression. You know, Saudi actually has one of the highest uses of YouTube, and that not just consuming of media, but putting out content as well. So it is a form of expression, it's a form of art, and it's freedom, you know. And so I think there's just not a lot more movement that can happen in other parts of the world. So Middle East actually is one of the highest consumers of social media, and also.
But then again, this, you know, because now people are going through like a lot of financial strains, they have a lot of loneliness, they have a lot of strife for being perfect. They don't have, you know, proper jobs, you know, due to the situation that's happening at the moment. The only way for them is to communicate this is via their smartphone and via social media. Yet, unfortunately, I'm seeing there's a lot of misconception or understanding of what social media is and the usage. Do you think that there is a crave for being famous in this region? I'm talking from a marketing perspective. They market themselves as famous people because they want fame in a way. Do you see that as a case?
You know, Zaina, I'm not sure if it's particular to this region. I think it might be a Gen Y, Gen Z type of worldwide phenomena, where fame is quite easy. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be sensational in some way. You have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to be a certain way, and you can achieve fame. If I talk to my 12-year-old and say, what are you going to be when you grow up? One of his answers could be, I'm going to be famous on YouTube. Well, what are you going to do on YouTube? It could be just, I don't know. I'm not sure. I would find something to do that would get the likes, right? And so it's very much driven by what people like. And that can actually create a real emptiness inside, because if I'm constantly doing what other people like rather than what I really love myself, then obviously the disconnect can actually cause a lot of loneliness. You feel like you're living someone else's life. I've actually worked with some very famous social media stars within the region, and they might be having a very sad, devastated day, and then they post a picture of themselves looking all perfect, and it just creates a lot of dissonance and sadness.
Very true.
No one sees their pain. No one sees their sadness.
Unfortunately, it's a very long topic anyway to speak about social media and how it can affect people. But moving to marketeers like us, who love to actually target specific audience, and today we're looking at millennials as our main target segment, given the fact that they spend time on their smartphones and they shop also. Yet, I think from a marketing perspective, the usage of campaigns online, sometimes it's affecting psychologically a lot of people. And we see a lot of usage of unrealistic photos and the usage of unrealistic videos and the lavishing life that you spoke about. Tell us a bit about, how can I say, some cases or case studies that you had for us to tell marketeers that, hey, listen, doing things which is the natural and the normal way can actually become a trend eventually if we actually follow it. Because a lot of, I mean, I'm a marketeer, but I go against these things at times. So give us some case studies of things that took place before.
Well, Zainab, I mean, actually worldwide, millennials are actually quite turned off by deceptive marketing. If we are just look at millennials as a marketing segment, they actually support causes more than they support products. They are actually quite aligned with movements than they are with products. They don't like deceptive ads. They are actually, if it's real and if it's authentic, it speaks more to them than if it just looks very perfect. And so Gen X actually might have, you know, this whole look perfect and be perfect kind of marketing ploys that you could do, but millennials actually are quite turned off by it. Okay. They actually buy things that other people recommend more than if you have a perfect video of something.
So the word of mouth is the one.
Word of mouth as well as influencers. You know, if you have someone who is an influencer within the community and they trust experts. So if you ask me, hey, listen, can you try this essential oil? And I speak about that essential oil, and I'm just a normal person, but who's an expert, then I actually will have a lot more influence than if some perfect person in the perfect, you know, hotel is talking about essential oils. It just won't have the same resonance with them. They like things to be very, very personal and authentic, and their messaging has to have some sort of understanding of the Middle Eastern millennial. You know, a lot of them, they want, it's really not, it's not just about the ad, it's about the whole experience of that product. Okay. It's about, if I click a button, it will show up at my door, because majority of the millennials in the Middle East are entrepreneurs. Okay. The majority of the people that have the money to spend in the Middle East are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs work more hours on average than the normal person. And so if you looking for people who spend money, you want to shoot for experience, and you want to shoot for authenticity, and you want to actually aim for people that are experts and influencers rather than this perfect ad in this perfect place with this perfect family. That's not reality, and it doesn't resonate with them.
It doesn't. Okay, 17% of this group, technically from research, correct me if I'm wrong, are depressed because of what they see. And 14% they suffer from anxiety. So how does anxiety and depression come along? Because of utilizing wrong marketing. Because at the end of the day, I'm not sure how to explain it, but sometimes, as you mentioned, if I see somebody traveling and then I get depressed, it's just a normal, you know, feeling that I have because I can't travel. So do you think also it's just for advertising, or do we blame influencers also who showcases the lavishing life that they live in?
It's so many different factors, but all of the above would be my answer. I think if someone allows social media to have such a big presence in their life, and they don't build their own life, and they don't focus on their strengths, and they don't have high self-awareness or self-worth, then of course you will be influenced by people that are outside of you. You know, I can look at mothers, you know, I'm a mother of 4 children. I can look at mothers and my God, everything looks perfect and they're cooking the perfect meal. And maybe my kids had ramen today and it's like, oh God, I hope everything is going to turn out. I can feel bad for a moment. It's okay. That's human. But then I know that my children have a mother who is with them, you know, 5 hours a day, who reads to them, who plays chess with them. Okay, I am that person. So maybe I know who I am, and I know what my gifts to my children are. But that's not how millennials or other people are looking at social media. They're just looking at what others are doing and what others have, and not taking stock in what they are and what they have. And that in itself will cause depression and anxiety. Anxiety being a separate thing and depression being a separate thing. So depression is caused by when you are comparing yourself so much and you don't value your own life and you don't have gratitude. Yes. Okay. Anxiety is when I think it's just too hectic and people are not getting enough sleep, and there's just a lot of, oh my God, I need to get married because look, all my friends got married and I'm not married yet. Like that can cause a lot of anxiety. So anxiety is usually thinking about the future, and depression is usually thinking about the past.
And so if they are both mixed.
Yeah, they a lot of times they will sort of show up together. Then it's one after the other. Too much anxiety can result in depression. Yes.
Okay, there's one thing which is very interesting is the fact that coronavirus today is considered a very nice marketing to create a format of depression and anxiety, and especially in a generation which is very young, which I've heard it a lot from friends of mine that have children that are at the age of 14 and 13. Do you think the way marketing or the way the news have been out about coronavirus communicated had created this format of anxiety and depression, or is it to blame the families for not taking care of their kids when it comes to what they're watching online or what they're watching on social media or what's happening?
Again, you know, depression and anxiety have so many different factors. Biologically, some of us are more predetermined to have depression and anxiety. If I have parents who are fighting, corona or not, I'm going to have anxiety or depression. So if I have, you know, high use of technology that is disrupting my sleep, I will have depression and anxiety. If I am working, you know, 15 hours a day and not sleeping enough, corona or not, I will have depression and anxiety. So we have to remember loneliness was already a problem worldwide when before corona. We have to remember that depression was the leading cause of disability worldwide before corona. We have to remember that anxiety was a problem before corona. Corona just amplified things and maybe made things a lot louder. And people who were more vulnerable or who are living alone, or maybe who were distracting themselves going and traveling and shopping and this and that, once you take out the distraction and you're sitting by yourself at home and now you're listening to your voices, maybe then it's a lot louder. But these issues existed way before.
And existed way before because of what? Because of social media? Because it was a trend in the past 4 or 5 years?
I believe that the high use of technology that is not balanced with real relationships has resulted in a lot of these issues. Okay. Now, I'm saying technology, when it comes to email, there's burnout that's happening. No one has any work-life balance. You know, I'm talking about technology when I'm WhatsApping with my friend and my son is sitting next to me and I'm not looking at my son or talking to my son. When families are sitting together at a dinner table, but no one is talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it's technology and social media. What social media did was just make things, give us the illusion of connection, give us the illusion of friends when there is nobody there. When I had a bad day and I have no one to call, but I have, you know, 2 million friends online, but no one there when I actually need them. So it created an illusion, a virtual reality, which was not real. And so this is where people are investing so much in their image. What should I look like? What should my brand essence be? Rather than who am I? And what should I do with myself today? It's very dysfunctional. It doesn't work. And so this is not COVID. This is just people not knowing about themselves and not investing in themselves and only investing in a virtual reality and an avatar of who they are.
So what do you advise such people before we move to the last question? As in, like, do they have to actually invest in educating themselves and training themselves to avoid falling into this, you know, mood and vicious circle? Because at the end of the day, like, example for myself, I am online, okay? I am flaunting online, but it's not my priority in life. I'd like to be with people, I'd like to communicate, and I'd like to educate myself. So it's all in the brain. It's, again, I mean, if this is going to affect you, if the phone is going to affect you, then you're not, you know, controlling your brain, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's all about self build-up.
So I think balance, okay, technology is not going anywhere. It's here, it's not going
Exactly.
anywhere, right? So balance is going to be the key.
Okay.
You have to use technology and not technology use you. What is happening in this region, which most people don't understand, is that this device that we have in front of us is highly, highly addictive. The same chemical that is being released when I smoke a cigarette or when I do something else, it's called dopamine. It lights up in my brain. The same chemical lights up when I use social media. So I am addicted to my phone. If you don't think you're addicted to your phone, don't use your phone for one day and just use a flip phone to call someone if you need, and then go out without your phone. You will see how addicted you actually are. And so we have to first educate ourselves about the dangers of technology, about the dangers of social media, and not hand a 7-year-old a phone or a 9-year-old a phone when they don't need this device at a developing time in their life. And so that's one thing I would recommend, is educate yourself on the dangers. This is a weapon of mass destruction, the way I look at it. And I have 4 children, 14, 12, 11, 5. Nobody has a mobile phone and nobody has a social media account. It is possible for you to do that. Number 2, I would say you must have just times in your day. So I might say that every 2 hours, I look at my social media account for 10 minutes. That's what I do. I look every 2 hours, the signal goes off, I check my phone, and then I turn it off. There are ways. You have to be sophisticated about using social media. You can't just let the algorithm determine hours and hours and hours you're spending online. This is where people are wasting away their life. They're not engaging and learning like you are. They're not going out with their friends and talking to each other. They're more interested in taking the picture of the food rather than enjoying and tasting the food. So this is where I think the disconnect is happening. Educate yourself, and then you must have a sophisticated and balanced relationship with social media.
Very nice. I love it. The last question, also based on stats, which I've been reading and researching, since I'm not a psychologist myself, 84% of millennials, they don't trust traditional things that they see, like an ad or anything online. At the same time, 44%, they trust experts that are technically strangers on their social blogs, writing content, and things of the sort. Now, content at times can affect the psychology of people and can drive these people to do different things. Like example, I can attract you at a certain age to buy a product, and it can be the worst product ever. I can attract you and play with your mind to go and do something wrong when they're reading something that they think it's right. So where do you see content today online? Sorry, I'm talking from a marketing perspective. How is it affecting this category? I'm not talking pictures, I'm not talking visuals or tone of voice, actual content. Do you feel that we have a lack of educational content? And do you feel that there is unnecessary content online that is affecting this generation?
For sure, there is no policing of what is, like this is fake news, basically, fake content. I can say anything about, this tea that I'm drinking and say it's organic and it's got no chemicals but I haven't done the research. I just said it. And now all of a sudden, because I said it, it becomes real. So there is a lot of garbage out there. And there's a lot of false news out there. There's a lot of fake content out there. And this is where the consumer has to become savvier and savvier, where you trust the people that you follow. You don't just buy things because someone looks good and they said that it was good. You actually have, and this is where millennials are actually quite savvy. They actually will go and they will read blogs and they will watch videos and then they will go buy something.
Unlike the younger generation?
Unlike the younger generation, who are a lot more gullible, and maybe even the older generation. So Gen X and Gen Z, but millennials are actually quite savvy. They will buy things based on recommendation and buy things based on trusted sources. So I think the marketing strategy for a lot of the companies will be to get people within the community that are trusted to be able to say, I drink this water and I like it, or I drink this tea and I like it, or whatever you are trying to promote. That I am a trusted person and I'm telling you this is good, because if it's coming out of a trusted source, then I feel I can trust that. So yes, for sure. You know, one of the main reasons I decided to start my own personal account, Dr. Saliha Afridi on Instagram, was one of the main reasons was because there is so much garbage out there. I felt like people who actually have something important to say are too quiet usually, or they don't, you know, they sit and read their books and they don't say anything out in the public. And people that are actually have a lot of garbage to put out, they just put things out and they just say things. And so to be the voice of reason, I think if you are a professional, you have an obligation at this point in time to actually go out and produce content that is real and authentic and valid and reliable.
Very well. Very good. Last advice for everyone who wants to use online, and for moms in specific also, and definitely for individuals like us who are either single, married with kids. What do you advise them when it comes to actual usage of technology?
Have it be balanced. Have it be a time in your day that you do that. Put it away. Don't have it in front of you, because our brain will get a signal. There's research that shows that if you and I are talking to each other and there's a phone in between me and you, that our conversation is not going to have the same level of depth. Invest in your relationships, because your relationships are the single most important factor for your happiness. The research has been done over a 80-year study that showed that the number one factor of life happiness is not money. It's not what you have. It's not how much money you make. It's what job you're doing. It is, do you have people in your life that you can call when you are feeling down? And that doesn't just show up. Invest in your relationship, whether you're a mother, whether you're a wife, whether you're a husband, whoever, that when you're with people, even if it's 20 minutes, just be with them. And then when you're with your phone, be with your phone, but just be where you are and do one thing at a time. You can't look at your phone and talk to your child and work on your phone call at the same time. It's just, you're draining your brain. You're gonna have cognitive decline. You're gonna have things like dementia build up inside of you. It will happen if you put that kind of pressure on your brain. And you will also not have very good relationships with the people in your life. So do one thing at a time. Invest in your relationships, and don't have your phone in the middle of a conversation or a dinner table.
Even a business meeting?
Even a business meeting.
Okay.
Your meeting will be so much more valuable if you take the phones off the table. The meeting will probably be shorter because you won't be as distracted, and you will actually have a more depth, a deep sort of conversation, a depth to your relationship in that moment that you will connect, because it will be real and it will be human, because that's not something that happens all the time. So for sure, even in business meetings, put your phone away and connect to people, human to human.
Very nice. Dr. Saliha, thank you so much for your time and for your valuable content. I know we can talk till tomorrow about this topic, but if anyone wants any advice or any assistance, they can come to your center, LightHouse Arabia, and take an appointment with you. You also basically treat teenage, I'm assuming youngsters till the elderly, right?
I personally don't see any clients.
Okay.
If someone just get in touch with me, it's usually through Instagram or direct message through that. But I have a clinic, the LightHouse Arabia, and we have over 30 clinicians working there. Okay. And we work with everyone across the age range. So we work with little children, teenagers, parents, couples, families, corporations. So across the age span and across the different sectors.
I will just put the link and all the details for people to get in touch with you. And thank you once again for your valuable time. Really appreciate it. And talk soon and stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks
Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.